Yuriko, the Tiger's Shadow, versus Meren of Clan Nel Toth. Nice to have Lightning Greaves and Cover of Darkness in the hand. But these expensive spells we want in the deck so that we can reveal them off of Yuriko. And we preferably have a turn 1 cheap creature to play. That'll have to do. We can go for the Preordain. Mana Drain, yeah, we can have a look at the top and see what we want to grab off that. We will go for, we'll go for Preordain on turn 1. And then we'll have to go into Tetsuko. And that will make our commander unblockable at least. We'll have to scry this onto the bottom because I don't... actually... yeah, we're going to have to. We're not going to be able to reveal that off of Yuriko in time. So we'll have to throw that on the bottom. And put that on top. And we can try and make use of a mana drain, hopefully. Depends how fast our opponent gets off to this start. Meren of Clan Nel Toth is a commander we play on this channel. Really like Meren. 3-4 for 4 mana. Whenever a creature you control dies, you get an XP counter. And at the beginning of your end step, you choose a target creature in your graveyard. And if its CMC is less than or equal to the XP counters you have, you return it to the battlefield. Otherwise, you put it into your hand. Arcane Adaptation is nice. That makes all of our creatures ninjas. That is the cheapest means of doing that we have in the deck. So we'll go for Underground Sea here. And then go for Tetsuko. That is not a ninja. You might think, you'd be forgiven for thinking that it is, but that is actually a human rogue. Creatures you control with power or toughness, 1 or less, can't be blocked. That's pretty much everything in this deck. And our commander, Yuriko, is a 1-3 for 3 mana. Whenever a ninja you control deals combat damage to a player, you reveal the top card of your library and you put it into your hand. And the CMC of that card that you reveal is dealt to your opponents. And we can cheat this commander in for only 2 mana. All we have to do is return an unblocked attacking creature we control and swap it round with Yuriko, basically. And that is the same of all ninjas, except this one can do it from the command zone, which is what makes it so powerful. We never actually have to play this for its main cost, that 3 mana. We only ever want to do it with Commander Ninjutsu, and that does get around command attacks. So that is a really good ability to have on her. Her opponent's having the greatest time struggling with what to grab here. I don't actually know what I would grab myself. What we can do next turn is swing in with Tetsuko and then Brainstorm Treasure Cruise on top, and that will reveal the Treasure Cruise off of Yuriko and deal 8 damage to our opponent. They go for the Mana Drain, which, yeah, that's fair enough. I can see why they'd go for that. We can hope to get into some lands off of the Brainstorm, so let's see here. We wait for our opponent to declare blockers. They obviously can't block that. So now we go in for Commander Ninjutsu, which is 2 mana, and we return Tetsuko. And yeah, we didn't get into another land obviously, so I couldn't Brainstorm the Treasure Cruise on top. Well, we'll get to Brainstorm next turn, hopefully. It's good to have our commander in play, especially if we can... We'll probably just Brainstorm. Yeah, perhaps should have done it that way. We should have Brainstormed first and gone for a land. Get the Treasure Cruise on top and then play the land, and then we could have actually... yeah, still swung in with Tetsuko, but replaced it with our commander. So yeah, a little bit of sequence in there. I'm still getting used to all these different decks that I've made. Meren has a lot of board wipes and sack effects, and Putrefy, there's one. That'll slow us down a little bit. Might actually be worth... well, there's a land, so that's good. Not sure I want to... yeah, Toxic Deluge. If we see Meren next turn, we won't actually be able to hold up Mana Drain because we'll have spent all our money on Toxic Deluge. All our money? All our mana on Toxic Deluge. Brainstorm we put 2 cards from our hand on top of our library. So, yeah, we could try and set something up there, but we'll have to get down Tetsuko again. And then we can hold up the Brainstorm. And what we can do is throw Treasure Cruise on top of our library and then something on top of that. So we could go Treasure Cruise, we can throw Treasure Cruise on top and Compulsive Research on top. We draw into the Compulsive Research next turn, and then hopefully swing in our commander, our opponent, and reveal the Treasure Cruise. Get some damage dealt to our opponent, but there's Merciless Executioner. Exactly the type of card I'm worried about in this deck. So we have to sacrifice our creature here. Still go for that Brainstorm though. Yeah, Mesmeric Fiend does of course swing in. They obviously have Meren mana now. They only have 4 cards in hand, but as soon as they get Meren out on the field, they can get back their Merciless Executioner. See what we can get into here. Okay, Sakashima's Student might be useful for us later on, but not yet. I think I actually prefer the Nether Traitor. Well, we'll go Treasure Cruise and Compulsive Research, and we will draw into that Compulsive Research. So, yeah, unfortunately we're struggling on black mana. That is unfortunate because Nether Traitor has haste, so we could haste out our commander. We can ninjutsu that Sakashima Student. And have it come in as a copy of this thing. And have a look at our opponent's hand. We obviously can't abuse this as much as our opponent can. Damnation is a pain, but Sadistic Hypnotist is worse. So why don't we go for Sadistic Hypnotist? If they want to wipe the board, they can give us back our mana drain. Okay, Farhaven Elf for our opponent. I was just looking at this card to see if it remains a ninja, and it certainly does. So that's good for us. I'm not sure I want to swing it into a Farhaven Elf though, because there's no reason that they wouldn't chump block there. They might want to keep the Mesmeric Fiend around to keep us off of mana drain. So I think, well, we're just hoping for black mana here, but of course that's the Treasure Cruise that we revealed before. So why don't, in that case, we go for Compulsive Research, and we draw 3 cards and discard 2, unless we discard a land. It's actually a land that we're after. Okay, let's discard 2 cards then. We can get rid of Treasure Cruise, and the Arcane Adaptation isn't doing anything for us yet, unfortunately, so we're going to have to get rid of that. That is more of a mid to late game card anyway. What we preferably want to be doing is getting out lots of cheap, unblockable / flying / shadow creatures. It doesn't seem to be going our way so far, but we do at least have a little bit of control in our hand. Okay, Oracle of Moldiah coming down. I'm quite happy to Toxic Deluge our opponent next turn and wait for a Meren to come down. Will unfortunately leave our opponent with a Damnation in hand. And we know that they're going to get into Eternal Witness. Yeah, not going to bother with that. So we can grab here off of, well, Mystical Tutor. Yeah, we have some options here. We can either swing in with Nether Traitor, a Mystical Tutor something onto the top to deal damage to our opponent. I think we can go for that and try and force the damnation. So why don't we go in for Nether Traitor. We'll swing in at our opponent with this thing. Excellent that it has haste. And then they obviously can't block it. They don't have a shadow creature. They might have spot removal. And then we can cheat out our commander. We don't have to ever pay commander tax. And now we can Mystical Tutor in response to that. And grab something really big with this if we want to. I'd actually quite like, and I forget which card it is. It's one of these. It must be this one then. Yeah, Rags to Riches is good. And that actually deals a lot of damage to our opponent as well. Because the converted mana cost of this card is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Because you have to take in both mana costs of each side of the card into consideration when you're working out the converted mana cost. So while we can actually use this as a modal card, both mana costs are actually considered when working out the CMC. So that is a really good card to grab for us. And our opponent's down to 11. They might want to Damnation here, which I wouldn't be totally against. If they want to get out their commander and get their Merciless Executioner back, then that's not the worst thing that could happen to us. Something I wouldn't like to see is their Sadistic Hypnotist. This thing is sacrifice a creature and a target player discards 2 cards. They can only do that at instant speed, but they can wipe out our hand pretty consistently with this. We know that they have an Eternal Witness and a Damnation in hand. They're about to get Acidic Slime, which I'd rather they didn't go for our lands. I have no doubt in my mind that's exactly what they would go for, because that's the only target for them currently. Okay, and our opponent plumps for Meren, which means they're going to get back their Merciless Executioner into their hand at the beginning of the end step. They can't Damnation as well unless they've got a land sat in their hand that they can play, which I imagine they would have played it by now if they had it. Okay, so they're going for E-Witness onto a land maybe, or maybe just a Putrefy. Yep, they're grabbing Putrefy. That is something we can negate at least. And then they are swinging in at us, so we'll just take the hit on that. And I don't know if we want to try and force this Acidic Slime. Or, yeah, I don't know if they do have Merciless Executioner anyway, so I think just a board wipe will do. That's nice to get into a land. We wouldn't get rid of their Meren with our Rags. That is just -2/-2 to everything. We could, how much is Aftermath? 5, 6, 7. 2, 4, 5. Yeah, we might be able to get into Aftermath. I think we just want to Toxic Deluge this turn. Yeah, and then we can hold up Remand or Negate. So why don't we go for exactly that? This will give us a lot of, or give our opponent a lot of death triggers for their Meren, but we're hoping to draw the game to a close soon. It's actually beneficial to us sometimes. Oh, and we'll get our mana drain back as well, which I forgot about, so that's really good. Yeah, it's actually beneficial to us to get our commander back into the graveyard sometimes. Or actually, not back into the graveyard, back into the command zone, because then we can get out things like Nether Traitor. Nether Traitor does a hell of a lot for us in this deck. The haste is really, really useful to us. So we can go for that next turn and hope that we rip into something really big. We do have some top deck manipulation. Unfortunately, we don't have Sensei's Divining Top available to us in this format. It is banned in 1v1 Commander. But we have things like Brainstorm and Vampiric Tutor. They know we have the Acidic Slime, so we'll just go for that counter. Yeah, we have Brainstorm, Scroll Rack, some Scry effects in Preordain, and there's Brainstorm. I already mentioned, I think. What else do we have? The Tutors, Mystical Tutor and Vampiric Tutor, Imperial Seal. I think we have Personal Tutor in the deck as well. And there's Scroll Rack, so that might help us. In fact, we might be able to win this game with that, because we can put our Rags to Riches on top. So why don't we do exactly that? We'll put 1 mana into it, and we'll go for that. And we put that on top. And then all we do now is go Nether Traitor, and we got into Personal Tutor as well, so we can put even more powerful stuff on top of our library to deal damage to our opponent. We just have to be careful not to click through our opponent's blocking phase. And we play out Yuriko. That will of course deal 1 damage to our opponent, and then that trigger will come off and we will deal another, however much that is, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 damage to our opponent, taking them down to -3. And that is exactly what we want to do with Yuriko. A little bit of a sketchy game. Our opponent is, yeah, they were making life a little bit hard work for us, but I'd expect nothing less from Meren of Clan Toth. This deck seems to be in the same realms as Naila, the Blade Blossom, and Lazav, the Multifarious. Typically wants to get some pretty fast games on the go and win at around turn 5 or 6, but we've obviously had the game dragged out to turn 9 by our opponent, and I'm enjoying this Yuriko deck. It's pretty unusual top deck manipulation and revealing expensive cards off the top and dealing damage to our opponent, so I hope you enjoyed it as well. That is Yuriko, the Tiger's Shadow. Be playing more of her as time goes on, and I will see all of you in the next one. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.